This week, Google entered the chat as we explore how search is going to change for good thanks to the wonders of AI, how LinkedIn is looking to help people with content prompts, and Pinterest's bold move to simplify its efforts. Hello, squirrel friends, and welcome back to All Marketing School. It's Fab here, founder and teacher at All Marketing School, bringing you the latest tea, literally almost today, and news from the social media and marketing world. And as always, I would not come to you on my own. I will bring the best people with me along for the ride. Talking about best people, I have our super babe back again, one more time, forevermore. My little Jess, hello and welcome back.
I'm about to change my bio to super babe.
Please do. Please do. The social super babe, if you want.
Oh my God. Copyright that shit. I'm in.
I mean, it's yours to take. See, I'm here to gift already like beautiful things. There you go. Anybody, if you want your new tagline, just hit me in the DMs and I'll see what I can do.
Everything.
Absolutely everything. How have you been? How is life been for you? We're celebrating today at time of recording. If you want to share again, I'm all for celebrating. But how have you been?
Yeah, really good. Better than ever. It's my stomaversary. So it's old. And it's come around. It's World IBD Day. So I think it's World IBD Day tomorrow, which is the 19th of May. So it's nice to just raise awareness. I was really scared. I did a post. I'm guessing I haven't opened my phone since I've done it. I'm just like, I feel like I'm going to get a surge of, because I got her out. She saw the world. I blurred the stoma because I thought, well, yeah, I would actually be showing people the inside, like an actual organ. Not sure if I want to do that.
Fair. I saw the post and I loved it. And I think everybody did as well. It's just, and I know it's very vulnerable and it's apt to the time because actually this week as well is Mental Health Awareness Week as well. So you know what? I think a lot of people have been kind of thinking about the way they show up online as well. So thank you for literally giving her a bit of screen time and sharing your experience with her. I'm sure you're going to be welcomed with love and kindness. That's what I'm going to say.
Bloody hope so. It was one of those posts where you put it up and you throw your phone across the room.
I think if you haven't done one of those in a while, then, it's one of those things. When you do those, you kind of like start second guessing yourself. And I don't know, I actually want to talk about mental health as well at the end, because obviously this is the end of the week at time of everybody listening. And I think there's been a lot of reflections and we actually had a lot of conversations about it this week. But, it can mean so many things. And when you put yourself out there online, you kind of want to, because again, you raise awareness, you kind of show people, and also you want to celebrate. I think that's the thing. If you feel you have a really strong community online, you want to celebrate with them because your life has changed for the better since Stoma arrived. And I think that's one of the things to celebrate. Before we jump into the news, can you give us a bit more context just in case somebody doesn't follow you yet or is not very familiar with the journey? Because we're talking about her, the beautiful Stoma, but I appreciate that we know what we're talking about. And the listener might be like, girls, what's up?
Okay, I'm going to sum it up as quickly as possible. I have an autoimmune disease called ulcerative colitis. I was suffering for 10 years until one day I had to have emergency surgery to remove the majority of my large colon. When you do that, the operation leaves you with an ileostomy, which basically means a small part of your intestine that would usually connect to your butt now connects to the front of your stomach and you poo in a bag.
Little stomach.
Yeah. Little stomach.
She got her own jingle. I love that. I love it. Bring a little stomach to the masses. Thank you so much for sharing. I think a lot of people don't really know that. So that's the Stoma we're talking about. That's her. That's she. And that's how she really changed your life over the last 6 months and beyond. So final celebration of Stoma. Thank you, Stoma.
Thank you, Stoma. Oh, yeah.
And now, I think in the weirdest twist and change of subject, we're going to go from Stoma all the way down to AI again.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I know it's gonna be a wild twist, but I really wanted to talk about Google, so I'm gonna kind of bring up my piece of news and see what's been coming up, because Google has been releasing a lot of things and I've been trying to keep up myself and I've been struggling, to say the least. So Google is building
Google is
I think that's the thing. And What's interesting is that Google has been building AI for the masses, and that's what they've been trying to do. So we'll love to see if their approach to AI for their search is going to take off. Because I think, Google's audience is really smart. And as part of the AI re-o, they actually added the feature perspective that is going to be at the front and center of the UI in the coming weeks, which basically means you're actually going to be able to see more human feedback and SEO optimized results when it comes to Google. This has happened because actually people have been literally flocking from Google to TikTok when it comes to search engine over the past 2.5 years. So much that we had 40% of Gen Z literally going from Google to TikTok. And so Google eventually had to be like, oh, we need to change our user experience. We need to really bring better kind of search when it comes to the way that we do things. And being the search engine, they realized that they needed to change how the new generations are looking for information. So the whole spiel is that with the new AI introduction of Google Bard, they're going to make search more human. So I don't know if this is going to change anything. I don't know if Google will still be relevant in the next 6 to 8 months. But that's kind of what they're going for. And this is why there's been a lot of changing this week and conversation. The final thing as well on this is that Google has also started to drop AI into its normal suite. So think about Sheets, Docs, and all that stuff. So we're already seeing Google starting to give that 360 approach on how to add AI to their own suite. I'm excited. I am skeptical. I don't know. I'm a lot of things. But it's interesting to see that eventually Google went, it's been 2 years since people have been going to TikTok to get their information, because they want the information fast and they want it in a way that is more digestible to them. Maybe we should do something about it to still try and retain that power and strength we have. What are your thoughts? I think it's a big conversation because it's going to definitely affect SEO as we know it, I think as well. How we get found online. And I think that kind of new AI-driven search is going to change that. And it can be a bit daunting for marketers to be like, please, not again. Don't have us change completely the way that we do things and produce long-form content. But it could also be interesting, how we actually then produce content that is more looking at what it should be, which is how people want information instead of what are the keywords that we put in it. So I would love to hear your opinion because there's a lot coming up right now. That was a very slow-mo sneeze that happened.
I was holding it in because I was she's talking and this is going to be really hard to edit.
I hope Steph doesn't cut it because it was adorable. So I hope she just put it as a big landscape of you sneezing because it was adorable. Anyway, your thoughts. I want to hear them all.
So I saw a TikTok recently that, and I'll send you the link afterwards so we can drop it in, but it was saying how our generation uses TikTok as gospel, just like the older generation used Facebook as gospel, It was I can't believe, us believing everything on TikTok because it's right there. But before, it'd be our mums and grab or whoever were I saw this thing on Facebook. Well, I read it on Facebook. And we're well, I saw it on TikTok. And it's that just kind of I'm yeah, their search engine is everything. It's so good, but because it's so dynamic and it's all user generated reviews, really, right? It's kind of from the horse's mouth. So we really think it's gospel. We think, that must be real. So I can understand why TikTok is leading the way in search engines, overcoming Google, because Google feels like the boring uncle of search compared to TikTok, which is the young cousin.
The analogy is great, by the way. The old drunk uncle at the wedding who you don't want to talk to because you're not again, Google.
Did you know? Did you mean to spell it this way, actually?
That is the perfect analogy. Yes. Drunk uncle that wants to correct everything you say. Sorry, Google, but that's kind of the vibe, yeah.
So I'm excited to see that they're going to bring in some new features, but I am a Google Drive fanatic. Everything I do is in the Drive. And if that could give me some more AI capability, I'm all the way in. I can understand how it's a bit of a pain in the ass for the SEO marketing girlies in the world. And I just thank God that I'm not one of them. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I genuinely believe that it's going to be more about a conversation about how we change the way that we kind of, look at keywords and create content as well. And I genuinely, what's really interesting, we also did a sprint this week as you're listening. If you're listening this week, we're going to put some snippets next week as well. And one of the conversation we had was about building a timeless brand. And Sean from Miko app, he said that literally he uses GPT, for example, so AI, to actually help him with search, because he can actually have a conversational search, which is what Bing, which if anybody knows, Bing is also a search engine, by the way. If anybody forgot about that, roasting Bing. But yeah, so Bing AI, the big release they did was literally about this. You can actually conversate with the AI to actually have a conversation and get them to help you finding the information that you need. And that's how he is using GPT. So I think the way that we produce the content still has to have some sort of SEO in mind. So it's not like the whole rule book is going to change. But I genuinely feel, and will be interesting to see, whether if you have a conversation with AI to look for some information, it's not just going to pull it from websites. Then you're going to have it from YouTube. Maybe you're going to have it from TikTok. Maybe you're going to have it from Instagram. And so all the efforts that we're making to, I think, making clear what our content is about. That's how I would see if you were to talk about the human intent. Like, you know, whether it's in your caption, whether it's in what you say, maybe we're going to get to that level where even that's going to be like, you know, transcriptions are going to be used as well. You know, make sure that it's clear what is the question that you're answering. What is the thing that you're going to talk about? Because that's what I also like about TikTok, I think. A lot of it is not just kind of hidden keywords, put it in and there. It's very clear. This is, you know, what is happening in X, Y, and Z. This is why I love X, Y, and Z product. You know, things like this actually are going to help instead of being incredibly cryptic with your content. And I don't know, I think, tell me what you think. I also think it's a good practice in general when creating content. Sometimes we try to be a bit too cryptic about what is the question we're trying to answer, what is the thing we're trying to talk about. And I genuinely think search is going that way. Simpler, clearer, so that the information can be pulled and presented to the audience quickly.
Yeah, I think it's great. I'm scared about, because I'm having conversations with ChatGPT to get an answer is fabulous. And this is, I feel like I'm grandma when I'm saying this, but if we're having conversations with the robots, I hope it continues to lead us to the original source, because the robots are just gathering information from what they've read online. With ChatGPT, you can get loads of information from it, and it will tell you how to do these things, and it's amazing, but it's come from somewhere. If they could credit the human that said, oh, I got this information from, even if it was, you know when you do your dissertation and you have to have your bibliography at the end, it would be great if the AIs could include some of that. Because sometimes I'm just scared where the human interaction's going to lead if they don't start crediting their sources. Like, we all have to credit our sources, you know?
I agree. I think the annoyance of that, and I love, thank you so much for sharing that, is that it comes down to the people behind it still. Funnily enough, you know, it's the robots, but it still comes down to the people. What I love from what I've seen from Bing AI when I looked into it, is that the search also gives you references for everything that you mentioned. I think also the Microsoft version, which is the Bing version, I guess, but it has that built in it. So it's less about just like, you know, a chat, like you would have with ChatGPT. Is obviously it's built within the search engine or the kind of look for something element of it. And then it has the references. And I agree. I think that's the thing, is like, it's almost like give me the quick answer. And like, you know, the extract from the blog post, let's say, with a specific answer. And then obviously be like, you know, as you say, add a reference, dissertation style, or just this is where you can find out more, and kind of lead back to that creator or that person. It's almost like, you know, people, obviously food bloggers, they actually have a great SEO because the intent is to look for the recipe, and then you click and you see the recipe. And I think that is almost a bit easier as well. But when you're looking for somebody that writes a whole guide about affiliate, let's say, marketing, and all you want to know is a very specific thing, you know, if you give that nugget of information, can we make sure that there's the option to go and look? So I totally agree. Sadly, funnily enough, it comes down to humans again, which is what I'm more scared at this point, to actually make that change. But I love, and it doesn't sound like a grandma at all. With analogies of families going on. I genuinely think that's the issue that we're going to encounter, and I really hope that that's something that we can work around. So basically, peeps, just look out and just kind of keep your little ears pricked. Now, funnily enough, guess what I'm going to talk about again? AI, but this time for LinkedIn. So there's more. Yeah, I know, today there's more.
But wait, there's more.
There is more. Why? Because LinkedIn doubled down on AI with prompts for posts. It is in beta though, but this feature will
Oh my God. Yeah, I had one. Ooh.
You really? You had one?
Yeah, I
So
did.
what it will do, actually, users can actually share their ideas, and then the AI-powered assistant will get you started with the first draft. And these starters can actually include, you know, sharing your opinion on a new trend. It can be even things like elaborating on learnings or career advice. So it's really interesting that you got one. But again, not everybody might have seen it yet, but it is going to come up as more and more people for testing the beta. Now I want to know what happened to you, since I only saw this, but I haven't had it. And I was like, interesting. That's how LinkedIn is going to use it. And I think it's the first platform, when you think about it, that is using it that way, as in native from the social platform.
I got a prompt. I had why don't you talk about this today? And I can't remember exactly what it said, but it just was like, it gave me like something to talk about in business, speak about how you feel about this. And it was just written in italics underneath where you'd usually write a post. And I was like, interesting. I'm like, are they? My initial thought was like, why do they want to tell me what to say? Are they trying to direct their platform a certain way again? Because it is becoming more casual, not all about business. And so I was like, oh, are they trying to go a different way? To be honest, like personally, I've really struggled to get consistent on LinkedIn and like show up there, because my content style is so messy marketing. And even though I know LinkedIn, you don't have to wear a suit and tie and be your professional self and have like a headshot with a blurry blue background, that like graduation one. But I still don't feel comfortable. Like, I can't get consistent on there personally. And I know how amazing it could be. So maybe this will help when it comes around. Maybe it will help me kind of be more myself on there. I don't know. What do you think about it?
One thing that actually, when you were talking, really resonated with me is that like one of the problems of LinkedIn becoming more popular, even if it's a good thing in some ways, is that then it kind of started dictating what people would expect to see on LinkedIn a bit more. And some of it I like. There is actually, again, in there, digging around, there is some more like personal kind of conversations and things and style. But also there is, for example, the kind of like quick tip carousels that is basically, which is fine, taking a Twitter thread and then turn it into a carousel pretty much. So part of me is also like, it's kind of that thing of, I don't mind, for example, for me kind of posting what I would feel like inclined to kind of share, which a lot of it tends to be kind of maybe repurposed from some of the other things, especially like on Instagram these days as well, for my personal journey. But then also part of me is like, but then I need to literally forget about performance pretty much, be like, because it's not, I know already that it's not going to perform the way that some of the other stuff, if I were to do a carousel about 10 tips to how to use ChatGPT, I mean, I'm joking, but not really, that probably will work, or things like that, And so it's one of those things where I don't want LinkedIn to become as polarizing as Twitter, that you either talk about really hot business topics or things topics, and that can sometimes be really heavy, or again, you kind of constantly go back with the expert in the field. I do like that element of a bit more casual, a bit more kind of chilled and human. And I see it sometimes, but yeah, as you said, I don't see it enough for me to feel 100% comfortable just sharing that side of things as per yet. I don't know. It's almost like I agree with you. I almost kind of lost a bit my place on LinkedIn. I thought I found it and then I lost it and I don't know if I found it again. So yeah, it's a complicated relationship for me too. And I don't know. Maybe that's what this AI element is trying to do. But also part of me, I think, is trying to get people to feel more confident about posting on LinkedIn. It's not people like us that maybe would even know what to say. I don't know if it's worth saying it in that. I think there's a lot of professionals that still don't really know how to position themselves. And that might be that. I don't know. Or it could be what you said. They're just trying to steer the place into a specific direction for them as LinkedIn. It's going to be interesting. It could even be that this feature doesn't really go anywhere, Yeah. Maybe it disappears. I genuinely don't know what to expect, to be honest, but we'll see. So one more question for you then, before I get into one of my favorite platforms, which is literally to me the underdog. Anyway, try and guess. But my question for you is, what do you think should happen or would need to happen for you to feel more kind of like, not comfortable, but you know what I mean? Like more prompted to actually do share as yourself on LinkedIn. It can be about you, it can be about the audience, it can be about the platform. I don't know.
I spent £300 on a power hour with a LinkedIn expert. I spent £125 for a LinkedIn for Humans course that I bought. Like, I keep investing in, because I know I understand that what people tell me it promises to be a low energy impact place where you don't have to put in as much effort, you don't have to post as much, and you can still get so much out of it. This is what I've been sold, so I keep buying into it. Yes, that sounds great. Sign me up. But personally, I don't enjoy the content style. And I know that there's many different options. You can do videos, you could do text posts, you could do this, you could that. But there's something about LinkedIn that just it's not my cup of tea. And I know my audience is there, but I need to listen to what I preach. And I'm like, my audience is everywhere. Everyone's audience is everywhere. Just use a platform that you find fun. And at the moment, for me, I really love, and I've got clients from LinkedIn. Like, I'm not knocking it. It does work. But I'm more of an Instagram, TikTok girly, and now podcast girly. So I'm going to lean into what I love. And if suddenly something changes, I think maybe it's the people that I follow. Like, oh my God, Steven. Everyone follows Steven. He just pisses me off. Like, every time I don't know why. Like, he's great.
Today Jess woke up and chose violence, by the way, everybody. Today Jess woke up and chose violence.
I'm a sassy pants today. But he really does. Everyone, like, loves him on LinkedIn, and like I feel like he sets the tone for the entire platform, and every guru I see is kind of trying to emulate what he's doing in their own kind of way. And I'm like, if I see one more white square post with 2 lines of black text saying something profound, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna eat my own shoe.
So you're gonna be like, I'm gonna bit. I'm gonna bit. You know you should follow, lol. Maybe you already follow him, but I absolutely love him. Shout out to him. Alfred Samba.
Cool. La 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 Samba. That's what my head said.
Which means you don't know him then. Probably.
No idea.
I'll obviously you will be able to see it, and I'm gonna make sure that we'll put it in the show notes if my brain allows me. But he's a lovely guy, from what I see, obviously. And he's got a great approach, and it kind of shares some of the stuff is still obviously in that profoundish element, but it's just a bit fresh, it's unique. Some of it is fun, some of it is cool campaigns. That's kind of the content that I like to consume. That's the wholesome kind of person. It sometimes is literally one line, be like, this is actually great, and then there's the thing, and I'm like, yes. You know? And I personally am the kind of person that enjoys sometimes just go in and not having to read some very beautifully amazing 7-paragraph kind of, deep essays. Sometimes somebody to be like, I really like this. This is a great meme / whatever. I'm like, yeah, this is relatable. This is interesting. This relates to me. I love it. But I think we're very similar in the way that even if I'm a written word person for obvious reasons, like she was a book, I'm very visual as well. And, I like to be on these platforms also to kind of find something that really jumps out at me without having to spend too much time on it. So I hear you. And I'm just giving you a better option for somebody to follow. But actually, there's something that, you made me think about, which I'm going to get to at the end when it comes to mental health. So we're going to kind of put a pin on that. Finish with one more piece of news first. Put in the pin. Let's see where we get to that, sassy pants, but I love it. Keep it up. The last thing I wanted to share, actually, before we kind of jump into some mental health combo, was one thing about my favorite and the underdog of social media, which is Pinterest. There's a tiny little bit of juicy news that I wanted to share because everybody forgets about Pinterest. And what everybody's adding, Pinterest is actually the only platform that is simplifying. What they're actually combining pins and idea pins into one creation flow. So they're going to have videos and static all together. They're also going to make sure that the editing features become more like overlaid with text and pretty much allowing everything to be under one experience, both from the creation and also the consumption, which is interesting because with everybody obviously still having different formats, breaking it down, different options, Pinterest just decided that they're just going to do one thing almost and do it well. In my opinion, at least, I think it's still a bit understated as a platform. So I just wanted to put it in there just to remind everybody it exists because we don't talk about it a lot because in a world where everybody creates new features and has a lot of pieces of news, Pinterest does its thing and it still drives lots of traffic. There's still quite a lot of growth in that. And I just feel that it is less hyped up because a lot of it is literally about providing inspiration, something cool that people click through when they're interested in learning more. And that's literally its whole intent. That's how it works. And that's the simplicity of it. So actually seeing Pinterest bringing it back and be actually everything is going to be in one place with both formats because people still like pins, which is where Pinterest was like, no, we're going to do this reels or story version of ourselves and try and push that. Some people were like, I want to keep using the pins as they are. I love the pictures. They're still great. And so, I think it's just a reminder more than anything that, sometimes the best thing you can do is simplify and don't knock off some of these platforms that actually are a bit simpler and are a bit easier to use, because I think they have a lot of power within that, which doesn't mean you shouldn't go to Lemonade or Blue Sky, but maybe, just maybe, look at what you got before you jump onto something else. Anyway, that's my opinion, and I'm a big fan of Pinterest. I don't know if you use it also just for personal stuff or you literally don't use it at all, but I just feel it doesn't get as much love as it deserves, because actually it's got some great potential for some types of business owners and marketers and freelancers as well.
100%. I recommend it to all my product-based business girlies. Service-based, unless they've got like a rocking freebie or a blog or something, I don't necessarily add Pinterest into the wheelhouse straight away, because I just feel like it's another thing to add to the list. But for my product-based girlies who have an incentive to buy something quickly and it's available, 100% recommend. I think it's great, again, for that search, inspiration, and the call to action to drive them to the original webpage. Great. For me, I used it on Monday. I made a vision board. I've got a photo shoot, so I just sent that to I think it's great.
I love what you talked about there as well, because it reminds me that the other thing is that it's really clear there are some specific times where you might actually go to Pinterest for specific reasons. Like, how can I keep my child engaged for the next 5 hours? I need lots of ideas. Or how can I plan my wedding like I did? Or how can I plan my photo shoot like you're doing? So I think when you think about it that way, as you say, thinking about who you are and what your business is, you actually might find that it's a very natural progression. And I love that you mentioned that too. So again, everybody, watch out. Pinterest is keeping doing this thing, is actually simplifying a bit, which means even how you do things on Pinterest might be even more straightforward. So maybe brush it off, get back to it. My final thing, I have a couple of little snippets that we're going to add before the end with some mental health kind of nuggets from mental health lives that we did on Instagram this week. JESS, it was, by the way, completely random. This is me showing how my brain works sometimes. I was like, I should do just like some lives. I'm just going to ask people on a Friday, the week before Mental Health Awareness, if they're around next week, because I'm a dum-dum. And I was like, hi, you don't know me, but I like you. Have you got time next week? And I was like, this is the worst thing. No planning, no campaigning. I was like, I just want to do it because it means a lot to the school and it makes sense. So we had these conversations. And the reason I wanted to talk about it is because, yes, I want to have a couple of snippets that we're going to hear from Debbie and Monica. First Debbie and then Monica that we had a chat with this week, but also because of two things. One, what you just mentioned about Stephen. Sorry, Stephen, we're back with you, but not with him specifically. But obviously, just mentioned about, if the people that you follow don't give you love or is not wholesome for you, then obviously the whole experience is tainted. And there's something else that you mentioned this week, which I'll make sure that I put a screenshot to the final bit of the video that you did on Instagram. I don't know if you also reposted it on TikTok, but I saw it on Instagram. That really spoke to me about actually being intentional about who we follow, and things like the mute button as well, which everybody so far in our chats about mental health mentioned, like, muting or unfollowing people. I think we forget about how powerful that is when it comes to our mental well-being as people that, for the most part, we live and breathe on social. I wanted to hear a bit more from you because I really love that post, and I was like, this is definitely one of the big conversations and big points that we're going to get back to for the whole week, talking about mental health for marketers,
I have 82 people muted on my Instagram. I don't know how it just, I think they updated the insights and I was able to see that number and I was like, oh, interesting. Thank you, me, for looking after my brain.
What are some of the things that you struggle with when it comes to, like the mental health piece and like just finding that balance and that space for yourself, if that makes sense?
Social media, it's taken me a long time and I'm still not perfect at it, but it really can get into my brain, especially when I'm consuming content from people that trigger me. And that can be from influencers or it can even be from fellow business owners and marketers. Like seeing them thriving, my imposter syndrome goes through the roof. And I'm working with a coach right now to become that cheerleader for my peers as I am for my clients, but it's a work in progress. I've got a little jealousy monster inside of me, and it not only like affects my mental health, but it affects my business. I get shiny object syndrome. I see what they're doing, and I'm like, I have to stop everything I'm doing and do exactly what they're doing. It's awful. Talk about it a lot. So I had to mute a lot of my peers and just dip into their content when I was feeling like I can be a cheerleader and I want to show up for them. It's not because I'm scared of a competition or anything. It's just because I know myself and I don't trust myself not to consciously copy what they're doing, because I feel like I'm not good enough. And my business has grown loads since muting them.
I think there's something to be said about that. And I love that you've been so honest about it, because again, thinking about literally what we're going to hear in a second as well, Debbie mentions actually like this about sometimes, one of the challenges is not seeing the results the other are seeing. And there's nothing wrong. And I mentioned this in the live as well. There's nothing wrong with sharing our positive results and our growth. But then I think sometimes because of what we know, the highlights of social media, we don't see the struggles, some of the things that didn't work. And that's okay, because nobody should be forced to share. This didn't work for me and this is what I've learned. Because if it really hurts, we don't want to be like giving other people the advice just because we have to relive that, failed launch or whatever that might be. But part of me is also like there would be, I think that's what I personally, for example, what I'm trying to do for myself is kind of encourage myself to share if something hasn't worked the way I wanted to as well, and trying to reframe it as a lesson, because that's what I would like to see more from others. And obviously I can't force anybody, but just because I'm like, okay, it's great that, you brought $10,000 or pounds in your business by doing this one Instagram post. But I also want to see like, I tried this thing and just didn't work. And this is what I learned from it. Because at least, I can then have the perspective of being like, as you say, that not everybody is literally just like flying high. And I've seen a few more of these. I want to say some people are like, this is the other side of being so successful, so thoughtful, so busy, And I think if we can remember that when we talk about it, if we have the strength to do it, we actually kind of also help other people that might feel like, am I the only one going through this? Then I think it kind of makes the social world a world where people kind of feel a bit more seen. That's just me. And obviously you can't force anybody, but I think that would be what I want to try to do a bit more, because I live with depression, I live with mental health problems, I live with anxiety, and a lot of people don't even know that because of the sparkles motion, but I do. And, it's really hard for me to talk about it, because I come from a generation that would not talk about it. It would not be cool. You would have to hide it. People would look at you weird. So, I understand, because I am there myself with some topics hard for me to talk about, but then I know that when I do, people feel seen and feel understood. So, that's another thing that I kind of thought about as well. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for being open. We're going to now listen to a couple of snippets before we're off, and then we'll be back to say goodbye for today, as always.
And I think another struggle when it comes to social media, or challenges when it comes to social media, is seeing the results that other creators have. In 2023, 2022, everybody share how I make 7 figures in 2 months, or I reach 100K in 2 weeks. So those kind of things can have a toll on your mental health as a social media manager or as a marketer. That, okay, what am I doing wrong? How come everybody has this result and I'm not getting not even 2K followers in months, if you get what I mean? So yeah, those are the few challenges that few marketers might have been struggling with. And I mean, the solution to that is take it one step at a time. What works for this person might not work for you. And everybody shows their results on social media. No one shows the struggles they have behind closed doors, or the challenges they faced while putting up their businesses together. So it's fine if everybody's having this, but just remember why you started in the first place. Remember why you started. Remember why you are doing this. And with time, you're going to grow your audience and standing in your goals as well.
Yeah, so I have to say I haven't had many negative comments or reactions, but whenever someone does leave, a negative comment, whether it's on Instagram or in my Facebook group, or sometimes I even get replies on emails, I try to not take it personally. I try to just think, someone was maybe triggered by my messaging. Maybe they either misunderstood it, or maybe there's something going on their side that made them react that way to my messaging. It doesn't mean that there was nothing wrong with what I said. It's just that maybe they, from their perspective, they didn't agree with it, or it created this negative reaction, emotional reaction for them.
And that is it for today. We have covered a lot of things. I think we did a big, wholesome roundup, but there was a lot coming up from Google. There was a lot coming up in general. And I also really wanted us to have a little chat about mental health. So thank you, Jess, for spreading the word once again. Happy Sociverse this week.
Oh, thank you.
We're so grateful. Welcome. If people want to find out more about you, remind us one more time where they can come and say hi and celebrate with you.
Yeah, come to my Instagram, jessica.sophia.bruno. You can find me there. From there, you can find all my links. I've also got a new podcast out, the Content Club podcast. So if you want to have a listen to that, feel free.
More wholesome chats from Jess. In the meantime, as always, thank you so much for listening or watching wherever you get your pod. And we'll be back next time with more marketing news and ways to market to hearts and take better care of ourselves. But in the meantime, class dismissed.